James Bedford been waiting patiently for a shot at the Taskmaster. Hey, James.
Hello, guys. What's going on, Sean? What's going on, Kevin and Big Kev?
How are you?
Doing good. So I'm gonna go like take back to like early '96. So I feel like this is kind of a topical question. I'm gonna ask you, Kevin Sullivan, and go back to Big Kev. So like just in a 3 month span, you got uncensored '96, the end of Hulkamania Doomsday Cage match. 2 months later, you got Big Kev power bombing Eric Bischoff off the stage at the Great American Bash. So I want to go back and just be like the whole entire like Doomsday Cage. I know it was an early match in NWA, and I'm just kind of curious. Like I've yet to go back. I was watching WWF at the time. I mean, I was also 7 years old, and I haven't really went back and watched like the sub shows and all that. But I'm just kind of curious on because I'm assuming you had booked that or was the producer on the Doomsday Cage match on Sensor 96, Kevin?
That was Hogan put his friends into that match.
That's like
Zeus.
just,
If you remember, Zeus was a vital part of that match.
Z Gangster right there.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean No Holds Barred is it's a next level one on that. But just where did they come from in that? Like you got Jeep Swanson that popped up out of nowhere.
Right.
Like just that match in general. I know you probably have talked about it many times, but just looking at it, like 8v2 to go from they go through Lex Luger, they go through Flair, they go through Arn Anderson, through you all with just some crazy booking. Do you think that kind of stuff is what led like Hogan in his brain when he turned, like, decided to do his heel turn with the fans booing him? Do you think any of that had any kind of like something there? Like, because Hogan is middling with, I know the Dungeon of Doom is what it was, but do you think anything was there in that logic that Hogan was just?
It took me 4 months of daily hitting him. You got to turn. When I knew it was in Chicago when he was a babyface, and we had a hell of a house, and he came out, and the whole building booed him. And Mean Gene saved it by saying, "This is a somber move because of what's going on here." And I went, and people always say about Hogan turning. I lived a mile from the Ocean Center. I made him sleep at my house the night before so no one could get to him. His agent came. I wouldn't even give the agent a bedroom. I made him sleep on the couch because he was up my ear trying to talk me out of it. I waited till the first and second match was on before we got in the Hulk's limo and drove the mile and a half to Ocean Center. He was teetering the whole time, but it was the best thing he ever did. And I'm going to tell you what else. Do you remember the black and white promos, Kevin Scott?
Yep.
Okay. They could have buried him because they were so cool. If you notice, they put him in the middle. They stepped aside. And I know the first few interviews, the boys knew it was not going to work until they pumped him up, his ego. And because of that, Hogan got over again. And it worked because he was New York, along with Kevin and Scott. So that's what made it work. It was because the guys were smart enough to understand Hogan turning was the biggest turn in the history of the business. And if there was any animosity, which I don't think there was, but they said, this is going to get us way over the top. And they were right.
Well, yeah, we knew that was going to make me and Scott, and it was. We became mainstream.
Right.
We became the guys that turned Hogan. So it was like, and no matter where Hulk was in his career, he was always Hulk.
Yeah.
He was always like name the professional wrestlers that have been on Sports Illustrated cover. I'll wait. I mean, that's as big as it gets.
Sure thing.
You know.
James, thank you for the question.
Oh, already later. I was gonna have another one, but it's all
Oh,
good.
go ahead. Do you have a follow up?
Oh yeah, so I was gonna tag it back to Kevin Nash. So like this is so why I was bringing this up. So you got uncensored, and you got in between that was I believe Slam Breed, and boom, basically Scott Hall comes walking in during the match. Big Kev, what was your like mindset and logic seeing that? Like like you're maybe Scott Hall negotiating first, but what was your thoughts coming into WCW when you're like, damn, is this really what they got going on? Like. The Dungeon of Doom still rocking out. Hulk Hogan, like, were they anything said to you that basically had you go? Was it just the like less dates that you could be with your family? The better.
Yeah, no.
content?
To me, it was a situation where I would have never have went in by myself, but I knew with Scott that we were going to be together. So right away, his mind is incredible. So we're gonna be able to take care. Like we're gonna be able to. We'll get through the waters. Eric had an idea. I like I've said before, I thought it would work. I didn't know to what degree. When Hulk came down that aisle that night, and the reaction was what it was, then it was just like, it was nobody predicted it would be that successful. If we did, we would have fucking had merchandise set. We would have had like WCW was always so far like like the merch. I don't even think the merchandising ever fucking caught up to it.
I mean, you all had that like early NWO Outsiders logo that like is lost at times before like the actual OG shirt. You know what I'm talking about? That weird like globe look. Not, but so I could see that for sure.
Yeah, no, it just. But the thing is it was Hulk says it best, because Hulk was so used to when any territory he was in, if you were booked with Hogan, it meant that you got a payday. And Hulk the way Hulk would say it is, my entire career, I've had people sit underneath the Hogan the Hogan apple tree and wait for that one golden apple to fall in their hand. He said, then you two motherfuckers came in fucking with a chainsaw and said, fuck this, we're cutting the tree down. And, that's how Hulk looked at it. Like, he was just like, holy fuck. Like, and we were ruthless. We were ruthless, but fucking.
I mean, 30, almost 30 years later, it still lived up, man. NWO shirt, like you said, it's, just a little behind LA Knight, but I mean, that's still one
It's
of the.
all right. Is that a LeBron shirt?
That is a LeBron shirt, bro.
Sweet.
Nice.
Nice,
Thanks
man.
again, James. Thank you for.
I got to say something, James, real
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got a little buzz on tonight, a little cannabis buzz, but am I the only one that's getting a little Akeem fucking vibe?
A little
Akeem, pull him up.
Akeem,
Akeem, the
Pull him
African
up.
Dream.
the African Dream, or Elijah one? I thought you were likening
No,
him to Elijah one.
No, his look.
Oh yeah, my vibe look over here.
Yeah.
You went Tupac or I rocked the bandana like this. I'm gonna lie.
That's why I rocked it. I was a 36-year-old white boy rocking that backwards fucking bandana, baby.
And it was yelling, Annika, Annika.
That's right.
Al Pacino.
I put a question about that in Wednesday's show, by the way. Thank you again, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Love you all.
James.
See you next time.
Thanks, bro.
Sullivan, we were talking on last week's episode about the AEW list of moves that now need to be approved before they can be in a match, and Kevin said it reminded him of when Time Warner's standards and practices people started to get involved, and what happened to the product thereafter. Can you point to that as a place where WCW no longer had a chance when you had to be answerable to standards and practices, that there was no fucking shot left at going after Vince's uncensored product?
Right. I think Kevin will remember this. I can't remember the guy's name that was standing practice. He's in the production meet. And I don't know if it was Kevin or myself. I think Kevin was talking. And Kevin said, well, we're going to have a guy pass him a foreign object. And the guy said, what do you mean foreign object? Kevin said, well, it's a gimmick. You pass him a gimmick. He said, well, you can't call it a foreign object. It has to be international. Right then, I knew it was over.
Yeah, that's like this fucking guy. Like we got to run everything by this guy, and it's just like, oh fucking hell.
Wow.
I mean, what do you
Could have
think?
never done midget matches either, I guess.
Do you think Scott and Kevin could have had that tag match in Arizona with the two girls? Do you remember the two girls?
The strippers?
Yeah.
No, those days were over once
Yeah.
Time Warner or AOL got involved.
Yeah.
But all right, thank you. Let's see who's up next on the list here. I gotta get some of my questions in here.